Hey guys, what's up? A little bit of a different video today. Today we are going to be doing an arrow build, and I'll go into a little bit of the specs regarding what arrows I'm currently using. I'm going to be using a different kind of arrow for this hunting season, so that's what I'll be showing you today. I'll kind of compare the arrows I used last year versus the ones I'm planning on using this year, and kind of go over vane types and configurations. So it's about 1,000,005 degrees right now in the garage. It is July 5th at like 9 p.m. You might hear some fireworks going off in the background, so hopefully that's not too much of an issue, but figured this is something I like to do. I find it interesting, kind of relaxing at times. Sometimes it pisses me off, but I figured I'd show you guys how I do it. So a few things to consider when building an arrow, or taking into account when you're building your arrows. Spine, overall length, overall weight. Spine, you want to make sure you match your poundage of your bow to the appropriate spine. So for example, these are the arrows that I used last year. These are gold tip hunters in a 340 spine. So I'm shooting a 28-inch draw. My hunting bow is an old Hoyt, a Hoyt Charger. It's a 70-pound draw, but I usually back the limb bolts out a few turns, so it's probably closer to like 62 or so, just so I can draw pretty smoothly while seated. This year I'm going to be also doing a saddle setup, so maybe that will change. But last year got the gold tip Hunter 340. So these are my 3D arrows that I've been using for the last year and a half or so, and honestly they are super cheap. They are a .003 straightness, so not the best, meaning like .001 would be better than these, but honestly shooting the last year and a half, I think I still have from the original dozen that I bought, I believe I still have like 9, and then I've since bought another dozen. So the arrows we're going to be building today are actually these arrows. They are the Sanlida Dragon 9 arrows, carbon arrows, .003 straightness, and they are cheap. On Amazon, they're usually running sales like buy 6, get 6 free, buy a dozen, get a dozen free. So I'm always thinking about my budget, and I have a full-time job, but I have other hobbies, and granted archery now is my main hobby, but still I'm a budget focused hobbyist. So these arrows have been great for me, plenty accurate, and if I miss, I know my bow's paper tuned, it's shooting well with these arrows. If I miss, it's on me, it's not on the arrows. I believe for a dozen, I did the buy 6 get 6 free. I believe they were like $60 for a dozen, which like you cannot beat. So I'm curious to see how they do as a hunting arrow, because they are a bit lighter. I can get more speed out of them because they are lighter, and I also have them a little bit shorter. So my draw length is 28 inches, like I said before. These are, let me check real quick. So with the 100 grain point field tip up top, or in the front, these are coming in at 28 3/4 inches long. These are clearly a bit longer, these gold tips, maybe by probably a good 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. But the longer the arrow, the more weight, the less speed you're gonna get. So I really like the speed with these Sanlidas out of my bow. So 28-inch draw, I'm not the longest draw length, not at that 30, 31 that you're getting like really fast speeds out of. So and I do back off my limb bolts a couple turns, so I'm probably around 62, 64 pounds. With these arrows, these Dragon 9s, I'm getting about 282 in terms of feet per second, which is plenty fast enough to shoot a whitetail. So here we have the weight of the gold tip Hunter 33. We're coming in at around 403.6 grains. Okay, keep in mind that is about 1.5 inches longer than the Sanlida ones. Okay, so the Sanlida is at 28 3/4. 341.5 grains. Now that is pretty light, and some might say that's too light to hunt an animal. I know there are people like women who shoot a lighter arrow because they have a shorter draw length and they have less draw weight on their bow, and so that's what they have to do to get speed. So I know it can be done. I'm not too worried about it. It's more about shot placement because I don't have the raw kinetic energy hitting that animal. So not only am I changing to a different arrow shaft from the gold tip hunters to the Sanlida arrows, I'm also going to be changing my vane configuration. For my 3D setup, the last 1.5 years or so, I've been playing around with different kinds of vanes, and I really like these Bohning shield cut X vanes, especially in the 2 1/4, so the 2.25 inch. I have some on my shelf here. I have them in hot pink. I think the hot pink is kind of fun. I have them hot pink, I have them in white, and I think they are an all-around good size. They are a little bit longer. So here's a white blazer. They're a little bit longer, but a lower profile. So they would not steer a fixed blade broadhead as well, but they do just fine for field points, and they kind of cut through the air quite well. That was a lightning strike. Wouldn't be surprised if we hear some thunder here. They cut through the wind. I don't know that I would want to use them for indoor use, but I like them for tack stuff. They also make a 1 3/4 inch, so 1.75 inch, and they make a 3 inch now, which I do think would probably steer a broadhead, a fixed broadhead, pretty well. But 2 1/4, love them. You can get them off Amazon. I'm all for supporting your local bow shops, but I found that Amazon has these cheaper. I can get this 100 pack of the 2 1/4 for $19.99. Hard to beat that. So if you want to fletch a dozen arrows, you can do that multiple times over. If you mess up, it's not like you are spending however many cents per vane. It's kind of a drop in the bucket. So that's what I've been using for tack. Now for my hunting setup, I recently went to Total Archery Challenge, Pennsylvania. I loved it. It was some of the most fun I've had in my adult life. They put in their little informational email that there was a free gift. The free gift ended up being a pack of 40 AAE Max vanes, which I've never used before. I know a lot of guys shoot them. I know that you need a primer pen, which I have. I didn't like the fact that you needed an extra step to really ensure that they adhered to the shaft well, but I figured, hey, I got the vanes for free. I can pay the $9.99 or whatever for this primer pen. I'm gonna try these out. So that's what this build is gonna be. I'm gonna do the AAE Max, and they even have a little that's going to focus Total Archery Challenge logo on it. Pretty cool. And since we're changing other things, why not add one more thing to the mix? We are going to be using these whitewater archery arrow wraps. So I went to the Archery Cove in Honeybrook, PA. Awesome guys, really cool little shop. I figured since I was buying the primer pen there, I might as well try something else too. So I settled on this topo or like topographical pattern there. Let's get started. All right, so first things first, we lay out our workstation nice and clean. I have stripped the fletchings off of the Dragon 9 arrows, and now I'm going to take some rubbing alcohol. You can take whatever is the main ingredient in the nail polish remover, acetone. Clean the surface so that your vanes, or your wraps in our case, are going to adhere well. So I want to make sure that the wrap is square with the arrow shaft. Here's a better look at those wraps. Pretty cool. Archery Cove, shout out to those guys. Matt, Josh, John, There's a 15, so this is a 15 pack, and it was $13. All right, so this is gonna be my first one. Don't flame me in the comments if it looks like shit. Apologize if my head is in the way. Make sure it's square, apply pressure. From here, it almost looks zebra. And honestly, for my first one, I'm all right with that. Okay, so the ends match up. It didn't rotate as I was rolling it, so we set it up well before we did it. So I'm not going to talk through the rest of these. I'm just going to go ahead and do them. Now we have 5. I didn't want to do a whole dozen just in case I didn't like how they looked, but we have 5 wrapped shafts fletching. So this is not the nicest fletching jig out there. Bits and Burger makes a nice one that a lot of people use. I mean, there's a ton of companies that do. This is a Bohning one, so you can get a helical clamp or just a straight one. I have a straight one, and it is magnetized, and as well as the helical versus straight, you can also, I do a 3 fletch, but you can also do a 4 fletch just by swapping out one of the bushings in there. Let me take you through this process. We're going to take our clamp. I have a mark at 1 inch, meaning when I put this in the fletching jig, my vane will start 1 inch down from where the knock inserts onto the arrow shaft. You can play around with that however you like. I just found that I like 1 inch. And let's read the instructions, because this is an important step with these vanes, because they won't adhere without this, or they won't adhere well. So we're going to coat our vane in the primer pen. We've got some Blazer Bond. This video is going to be just a clusterfuck because I'm using AAE Max vanes with the primer pen. I'm using whitewater wraps on an Amazon special shaft. Sweet. Make sure you get even coverage of glue all along the vane. Make sure your knock is seated. And apply pressure. I usually count to about 30 seconds. Unclip. Rotate your mod. I always carry a thing of Q-tips. I'll use the Q-tips to remove any excess glue. On to the next one. So I'm not going to talk this whole time. I'm just going to speed this thing up. And there we have it. So there's our first arrow, straight, no helical, with the AAE Max vanes. I think this looks sick with the wrap. My first time ever using a wrap. I like it. without the wrap, without the vanes, in this configuration with the pink Bohning X cut, it was around 340, which is pretty light. I have a feeling just by holding it, this is going to be heavier. How heavy, I'm not sure. So the arrow's not touching the table. 355.6. Alright guys, apologies, I probably look like a sweaty, gross mess. It's, again, like 100 degrees in this garage. I'm going to take these arrows inside, let them cool. I don't know that it would be beneficial to leave them in the piping hot garage all night and all day tomorrow, but I did fletch up 5 of them. I think they look sick. I've said that so many times and I don't even care. I think they look awesome. This will be a part 1, and I'll make a part 2 video, and I will paper tune it, and I will shoot at some 3D targets and make any sight adjustments that I need to make. So this will be my hunting arrow going into the 2026 season. I still think for 3D I'm going to keep the shield cut vanes just because they've done excellent in the past and they're cheap. And you don't need the primer pen for those. With any Bohning vane, you don't need, they're already pre-primed, so you just super glue it, slap it on there with a jig. You don't need to do the extra step of the primer pen. Like I said, because these were free from Total Archery Challenge, shout out to TAC, I didn't really care about the extra $9.99 or whatever for the primer pen, and then I went and spent even more money on the wraps, but I do think they add a little bit of character. So overall, pretty happy with the outcome. All right, I'll catch you guys for part 2. Thanks for watching.